families, welcome back. Thank you so much for clicking on this video. If this is your first time, my name is Mami and you are very welcome. My new family members, thank you so much for subscribing to join this family. You are all welcome. I came across this video this afternoon and then I've listened to it 35 minutes. If I say I listened to it, I was reading the subtitle because it's in French. It happened in Mali, and it's about Pan-African activists, diasporas, lovers of AES, supporters of AES. Some delegates, government delegates, came together to send this message out to diasporas, Malians, AES, and all Pan-Africanists in the world. It's overwhelming. It's long, like I said. Families, please listen, and I'll be back. Thank you so much for your time.
You're welcome. Observe a minute's silence in memory of all the victims of this cowardly barbarity, whether military or civilian. You're welcome. Rest in peace and may our wounded recover. Mr. Vice Chairman of the National Council for Transitions. Mr. Mayor of the Commission. Dear colleagues, members of ARIMA's National Political Director. Monsieur le Responsable des Forces Vives. But he's the coordinator of the neighborhood chiefs. Traditional religious representatives. Mr. Chairman of the Naoko Elders Committee, members, representatives of our defense and security forces. Media representatives. The Sikh, militant and activist of the Alliance pour la Refondation du Mali German interior and established outside. Pan-African comrades from Mali. Lilies of Africa and Afro-descendants. Comrade activists of the Pan-African doctrine of cynicism, capitalizing on the legacy of the ideals of great African men, like Kwame Nkrumah, Patrice Lumumba, America Mordit, Bakayda, Thomas Sankara, Muammar Gaddafi, etc. Elite activists. Since August 18, 2020, with the completion of the popular revolution in our country, Mali, by our valiant army, operating and overthrowing in a civilized, humane and peaceful way the old political system under the total perfusion and control of criminal France and its predatory Western allies. No need to call back. That these neo-colonial predators were served from the inside by French-appointed and poorly elected valleys, in whose service were employed senior executives, trained and formatted at home, in their schools specialized in the techniques of corruption, theft of lies and erected as a state policy, they understand and defend the notions of patriotism, and independence. Sovereignties, dignities, nations of history were a waste of time and simply belonged to Ethiopia, because they were simply abbreviated by their master Franco-Westerners in the school of assistantship, easy gains, cowardice, laziness and treachery, as on the massacre of the Karawites, to cite only this case as a perfect illustration of ingratitude. Reason was past profit. Comrades in the struggle, activists since 2020. Many Sahelian African Malians and Afro-descendants understood that Mali had just assumed its responsibilities in the name of the Pan-African ideal, and in the name of Africa, to restore its dignity. To regain its sovereignty and independence. Yes, dignified Africans have understood that the 21st century is African and must be affirmed as African. For this is the destinies of Africans. After the Malian army. The brotherly Guinean people with General Bamboya have asserted themselves, even if timidly, they will not resist the heritage of Watoure, the historic name of Sékou Touré to General de Gaulle, and above all the sacred bonds of kinship with the Malians. They are already with Mali, and they will be even more so, for Mali and Guinea are lungs in the same body. Let France make a mistake, draw it, because Guineans are intelligent. The weak arms of Burkina Faso. Wind farms have bravely put their faith in them. Their destiny by extracting cost from their people. The knees of the French neo-colonialists, and by setting a new course that promises a brighter future for the people of the Sahel. Thus, with Mali, the Confederation of the States of Israel sees the light of day, clearly outlining the path to follow for a sovereign Africa over its territories, its people, its wealth, and its resources. Elite comrades. From 2020 to the present day, while some African and Malian hacks were predicting disaster and shame for Malians and our authorities, by the grace of God, every day we feel greater joy, happiness, serenity, determination, confidence and, above all, pride in having taken our destiny into our own hands, with our sovereignty regained and our territorial and air integrity restored. Reaffirming sovereignty over mining resources. Our factories, our international airport, our civil status through the recovery of our biometric data, elite comrades and activists. We've told the pessimists before and we'll tell them again. To the undecided, to the manipulators, to the Poland and to the fearmonger, the choice to liberate Mali, yes, and Africa is not a random choice, and certainly not a sleepy one. It's a choice made by a glorious, determined people and an equally determined warrior army, all galvanized by a history marked by great empires. And great heroes, all aware of the endogenous and exogenous stakes and challenges. Geopolitical and geostrategic implications. Elite comrades, activists, we have and say to the pessimists, the undecided, the manipulated, the poltrons and the fearmongers from within and without who count on an eventual exhaustion of our people or its army, that it's time to understand that after having concluded the entirety of our territory, including Kidal, thanks to the determination of a great army and our people, and more than ever resilient, that it would not be a war and terrorism manufactured by our enemies, the predators of our resources, our colonizers that will distract us from a noble, to preserve our states, our nations, our people and our resources. Franco-Western imperialist stones, condescending masons, militant comrades. We have and say to the pessimists, the undecideds, the manipulators. To the poltroon and the salesman of the pair that know, let them be sorely mistaken, for this war we are going to fight. We're going to win it, inshallah. The Mali will know peace, the eyes will know peace. Africa will know peace thanks to the determination of a conscious, determined generation led by worthy men and women. Africa, who has always been the mother, and those who claim to help or protect us, and also the university and the source of knowledge, and those who think they can teach us lessons about civilizations and democracies in passing. Let's just say that the Kirchen-Fugger Charter started here. Elite comrades, militant and militant, we have and always say to the pessimists, the undecided, the manipulated, the poltrons as well as to the sellout of fear that it's time to come back to the fold. In Mali. Because you've wasted too much time. Mali and AES want you, your parents and families want you. You have a duty to them first and foremost. The door to the homeland is and will always remain open, but times are changing and what's happening is a valuable opportunity to regain honor and dignity. That's why you should come back while the homeland may still need you, or while you may still be useful to it. Your intermalian terroirs are eager to see you. Everyone will find themselves in one of these cities to say that they've been touched by history. Mali will move forward. It's high time you freed yourselves from the whispers, illusions, false hopes and lies of your pure enemies, France and the West, who haven't even been able to be grateful to their greatest servants, Mobutu, Setiko, Bokassa and Bongo, whom they haven't even been able to offer a simple clinic or a clinic at home in France to care for themselves and finish their last day because, quite simply, France is ungrateful. And a coward has no friends. So save yourself and return to the fold to play your part with dignity in the war to liberate Mali and Hesse, a war that Hesse is waging with honor and dignity, with sincere partners on its side who have no colonial heritage, let alone an instinct for domination, but above all are aware that partnership means mutual respect, preservation and acceptance of the interests and sovereignty of each country. Turkey, Iran, and the list goes on. Elite comrades of the militant, said militant, we said and say to the pessimists, the undecided, the manipulated, the poltrons and sellers of fear that our dear country, our highest authorities, headed by Army General Hassami Kuika and, I beg you, Dovashali, General Diarmin Semi-Guaita, by launching the long-awaited inter-Malian dialogue, is opening the door to all Malians, both inside and outside the country, to talk to each other, to contribute to the rebuilding of our Mali Bar and, above all, to take part in the great work of national construction in our country. This door is open, you must seize it. Again, at this time when the National Committee for the elaboration of the Charter for Peace and Reconciliation, headed by Prime Minister Ousmane and Sophie, is welcoming the door of General Ismail Wagai, Minister of Reconciliation, is wide open to you too, comrade elite, activists. We still say to the pessimists, to the undecided to manipulate to the poltrons, to the salesmen of the pear, to the misguided children of Mali and yes that you have noticed for some time that a new dynamics is engaged on the side of the enemy through these manipulations of the Union of the Heads of State of ECOWAS which continues to hope that after soon 5 good years of resistance, he still hopes to explore new tricks. A nauseating strategy of enlightening ignominy to destabilize the potential yes, an eventual exhaustion of our peoples and our armies. We solemnly tell the Union of certain ECOWAS heads of state that they are sorely mistaken about the strength of the resistance and resilience of the peoples and armed forces of Hesse and beyond the resistance of Africans and Afro-descendants worthy once again. The AES is guaranteed to fail. And if you persist, I repeat, and if you persist among yourselves, heads will roll in your armies, watching over you like milk over fire, or else, dear traitors, valets, you will find before you like a rock the sacred bonds of kinship, neighborliness and solidarity of the African peoples, black, white and mixed race without exception. At the time, the heads of state of Chile were choosing who would be the first to fall between Olason Ouattara, the executioner of thousands of Ivorians, and the prisoners of the drug traffickers, who has forgotten the plot. Where are the drug prisoners kept? Who forgot the plot? Who witnessed the massacre of thousands of benefactors now president? Comrade de Lutte, militants et militants, we say to ECOWAS and its masters, France and Europe, but also to the pessimists, to the undecideds to manipulate the poltrons and the sellers of fear that after 5 years of elite are closer to the victory of glory than to the failure that you predicted, to the naive, to the fools among the lost children of Hesse. Quite simply, the swords go that they are submitted. Our peoples and our armies are the same, and often less pure, than those to which the great nations and great powerful armies of today have been subjected in order to achieve glory. So keep lying to yourselves, you poor union of heads of state. But you're in for a rude awakening, because we're stronger than you and our friends. True friends are also stronger than those hypocritical imperialist predators you take for friends. Partner. Yes, we are stronger because we have the truth on our side as we fight for the survival of our peoples, our nations and above all for the preservation of our values, our identity and our culture. And understand by this that even J Allah, his stakes, his prophets already Allah are with us al-Julada. Camera Galite, militant and militant, so let's say again to the pessimists, the undecided, the manipulated, the poltrons and the fearmongers. That the decision of our highest authorities in the Confederation of Comfortable States to take preventive operational measures and measures against the evil conspiratorial intentions and bad faith of the unions of ECOWAS heads of state who have always been the political arms in our space and the resonance chamber of France and its allies on the subject of the definitive and irreversible retirements of the AES. This decision by our heads of state is consistent with the expectations of all the peoples of the AES area, who are determined to form a universal bloc behind the decision of our heads of state. General Abdrahmane Jani. Army General Assimi Goïta, President of Mali and the English Confederation, activist and militant. We won't get tired of calling out the pessimists, indecisive, manipulators, poltroons, and pear sellers. Whether in politics, exile, journalism, or any other field. Save yourself, join the S. Or don't you realize that France has fallen, France is finished, France is in recession, France has become poor. France is in recession, France has become poor and Europe less intelligent. Congress with France, Francafrique is over. They're going to fall. La yes any tu mira par Jean Hollande. We're going to resist the war of fabricated terrorism, maintained by them until our children understand and discover their lies. Then the war will be won and over. Comrade elite, militant and militant, we say pessimists to the undecided, have manipulated to oil and the seller of the pear. What makes you think that Mali and AES are self-sufficient and that we are isolated? Lying to you again, and how naive if you still believe it. For it is now that Mali and all of yes are open to true friends and partners in all forms of partnership, balanced, free, win-win, whether bilateral or multilateral or regional or sectoral. Mali and The Hague, every day that I have created and on a permanent basis, are expanding their song. Good friends, good partners. Good allies. Wake up, your land needs you, unless you've made regrettable choices. Well, you hear a company exclude you, and that's the story of the retrenders. It will still hold you against you, and unfortunately your descendants will suffer. So don't take those risks, don't take those risks of being on the wrong side of history and come back while you can, and remember that no one is indispensable. Come and take your rightful place in the motherland. Don't miss the opportunity to help write this glorious page in our shared history, that of yes. Elite comrades, activists, we say to the pessimists, to the undecided we manipulated the poltrant, the salesman of the pear, the children of the jubilation. It's pure naivety, dishonesty or intellectual blindness to believe that Mali is in economic and food difficulties, that the unemployment rate is rising every day, and that our well-known operators are unemployed. Both from our compatriots and from ECOWAS and France. Because, quite simply, when a nation or a people chooses to free itself from its tormentor, its colonizer, its predator, inevitably all the paradigms, doctrines and narratives have to be rethought and rewritten, adopting them to the expectations and aspirations of our peoples. From there, all partners and partnerships, this reinforcement returns revisited. Or simply cancelled. This applies to contracts and agreements to finance humanitarians in conditions that have a significant negative impact on our states and countries. So understand that it takes time to change all this in a transition. Dear compatriots, here and now, we'll do our best to give you a little taste of the stages involved in moving from difficulties to the easy slavery of freedom, and therefore of the transition to the negligible, to what is sometimes lacking in courage and discernment, to remind them that in substance in our transitions. It takes time to reread contracts. It takes time to establish agreements, identify partners, negotiate contracts, start new agreements, build infrastructures, and implement reforms. All the socio-economic sectors of security and defense, and employment in general, will inevitably be affected by these compulsory and normal times. On certain conditions, including the power cuts that some people are manipulating and the like. But no one, rest assured, will die of hunger or thirst. And our Mali is getting better and better every day, restoring our sovereignty over our territory and our resources. And to this day, no country is actually living better than the S states. So once again, dear compatriots, pull yourselves together. For neither France, nor the trade unions, nor certain ECOWAS heads of state have any lessons to teach us. On the contrary, they have everything to learn from AES in all sectors, including the fight against terrorism and organized and cross-border crime, security and defense, politics, diplomacy and international relations, human rights, solidarity. The year of stipulation of people and goods, civil status, digital, economy, food security, and I pass there what Yao and France have learned from the AES on these issues. Elite comrades, activists, we always say to pessimism, to the undecided or manipulated, to the poltroon and vanden of fear, and above all to the misguided children of yes. Remember that every time we have sent back financial partners with their dehumanizing funding, with the Times, it's Mali and the AES who wins. Because we're preserving what they wanted from us, which is at least 50 times more than what they were supposed to bring to our economy. That's the real message, and that's the right message. And to our development too. So, farewell to the bad partners of the humanizers, even if some compatriots may have felt it for a while. But sacrifice compels. Elite comrades of the militant, we say to the ever-pessimistic, to the undecided, to the manipulated, to the poltrons, to the vandals of the pair, to the deferential children of Hesse, the enemy continues to make you believe that changes are made by the wave of a magic wand when he was there for 15 years, with more than 15,000 white helmets and soldiers, and weren't able to bring us Kedan. On the contrary, we've lost a good chunk of our territory, not to mention hundreds of innocent people, so it's about time. It's up to you to learn the lessons. Comrades of the militant elite and militants, let us say, pessimists to the undecided or manipulated, to the poltroon, the vandal of peace and the lost children of yes. Let this battle be won in advance. Don't be distracted simply because we're at war, manufactured by one of the imperialists. And remember that in 2017 and 2018, Mali was on the verge of being lost and Lace was underway. The Malians and their armies had not made the choice to take control of their destiny. In May, we won't be talking about Mali anymore, not even my break. Today it's divided up and run by terrorist militia groups, not with the terrorists, with the imperialist predators, headed by France, who would simply fly over us like charagnards and watch us and walk over our corpses. Here with joy, because they wanted Mali without the Malians, just as they wanted the Sahel without the Sahelians, but all by the grace of God. The goodwill of the people and our highest authorities, have you spared that? Today, we're facing a manufactured asymmetrical war that we're winning, because every time we suffer a loss, the enemy has suffered dozens. Hamdulillah. It is also the occasion to launch a vibrant and solemn appeal to the peoples of the remaining ECOWAS zone, in this emblematic and historic place that is the future of the S. Not to be lulled to sleep by a few unloved and poorly elected ECOWAS leaders, who are at the service of France, at the service of imperialism, at the service of the thieves of your territory and your resources. I appeal to all the peoples of SADC to say no, to say to SADC no that the AES is you and your daughter. Yes, the Africa of the parents of AES Sacred December, the Africa of common history. The Africa of great alliances. Dear CADD friends. Do you have dignity? Of honor and example with your comrades, who are going to write a glorious page in the history of your states by saying no with dignity, courage and honor. With finally and without delay to this suicidal and genocidal misadventure of the unions of the ECOWAS heads of state, because this poorly elected president of the SADC will not be able to stand up to an ISA determined to save all the peoples of the AES and reach out to you too to save yourselves, who are still in the clutches of these heads of state. Mac Eli and Valley de la France in service of Africa's enemies. I'm relaunching a live appeal, and I'm used to being accused of advocating a coup d'etat. We don't call it a coup d'etat, we simply call it the restoration of the dignity of the African people. These are the sails of the restoration of the dignity of the African peoples that has blown since 2018 and continues to blow. So dear armed Ikawas, we ask you from the top of this Avenue de la Yes de Palia, I say palaces and I repeat a third time, to sweep away these unworthy heads of state, to put an end to the suffering of your people still in the hands of those who remain of the French Ikawas. French embarrassment. The ACE is reaching out to you, and this is one of the stages in the fight to liberate our Africa, one stage in the noble struggle to restore our sovereignty over our territories and resources. Seize the opportunity, dear Africans of the Subiel. I say dear Africans, I'm speaking to the people because there is no more hope with these union valleys of heads of state. Grab chow. And by the way, hand in hand, we're going to move forward, because the 21st century is African, it must be African. What about Burkina Faso and your involvement in terrorism? And in terrorist actions in collaboration with France, particularly against Yes. Today it's Niger's turn, through the historic interview with the president, the brave and courageous Armand Chani, to expose your evidence and the precise details of the strategy being prepared from Côte d'Ivoire and Nigeria with French trainers and nationals. Against the AUS before that, Mali went so far as to request a session. Extraordinary meeting of the UN Security Council to expose to the world the evidence of France's involvement in terrorism, terrorist actions, and its plans to destabilize our states. Specifically, to some Malian compatriots in Abidjan, that we are aware of all the meetings you hold in certain neighborhoods such as Passam les Zones for conspiring against your country alongside the foreign enemy. All this to let you know that this is Africa. And don't ever forget that Africans are together and are watching you from all sides until you sweep away all the French imperialist systems that are destroying us and keeping us from progress. We would like to remind all our compatriots of this. On December 27, 2024, Mali's most recent Council of Ministers adopted our multi-sector development strategy for the 2063 horizon, and we are now embarking on the first phase, 2024 to 2033, with the overall aim of rebuilding the state and structurally transforming the economy. Eradication of terrorism, social cohesion, and integrated national economy. With regional development hubs, improved governance and infrastructure. So let's get on with it, let's get on with it, let's get on with it, and let's get on with it. Finally, in his address to the nation, our well-appointed, beloved President of the Transition, Head of State, His Excellency General Simi Guattari, declared 2025 the Year of Culture. This is a strong signal. Let's rediscover our societal values, and then we'll go far, and very far indeed, into the new year in 2025. 1000 Merville of happiness, health, peace and prosperity in our states and for all our people. May God continue to assist our people and our leaders and inspire them for good. Amin. Vive numbers fam a vive la Mali, vive les adieux Chilio. Red card to the Sino. Carton rouge à la Sino, carton rouge à la Chilio. African people, who are the wolves? They are us. Vagina of the CD is Mohammed Alahit. So thank you very much.
And I will not waste your time. You heard it all. I don't know how you will interpret it. Please leave comment and let's learn from you. As always, when my mind is foggy like this, you put me right. So thank you so much. I'll type the name of the channel on the screen. Those of you who speak French can listen, go and listen to it. Thank you for your time. My returning, my VIPs, my kids and queens, thank you so much. You can see I don't even know what I'm saying because There's a lot to process. I can't get it right in my head, but I know by tomorrow it will make sense to me. Everything will be clear. I'll leave you here. Good night, families. Bye bye.